You are listening to the Business Excellence for Managers podcast, dedicated to all of you leaders and executives eager to continuously improve your business performance. I'm Juan, your host, and this podcast is proudly presented by Wave Business Excellence Footprint, my digital training company dedicated to your career and personal growth. Join me as I chat with inspiring individuals and professionals from around the globe, uncovering strategies that empower you as a manager to elevate business excellence within your organization. Having spent over 2 decades in various management roles within the international corporate world, I've transitioned into a management coach with a great passion for guiding managers and leaders towards greater results. My mission is simple: to equip you with the best techniques for refining your processes, ensuring customer satisfaction, and promoting employee motivation. The result? A measurable financial impact that far exceeds your investment. So join me on this exciting journey of continuous improvement for your organizational culture. I'm thrilled to have you on board. Hello, everybody. Hello, dear managers. Welcome to Business Excellence for Managers podcast. In today's episode, I would like to cover the topic Kaizen, specifically Kaizen workshops, because this is something that exists already since many, many decades. And it just seems to be that it's getting quite into the hype today again. So, how come this tool or this technique that it existed since over 40 years or more, it's coming back again into play today? The reason is, well, it just works. It's just good for the organization, it's good for the teams, it's good for you as a manager, and all the things that are good for us usually just resurface again into the environment, because sometimes there are certain things that people say, well, let's try to do something different. We have done now Lean Six Sigma for so many years. Let's try something new out so that we don't get here a little bit bored doing the same thing over and over again. But then the weird thing, what I have seen now in the last almost 3 decades now, because I started with Lean Six Sigma in the year 2000. So that's, as we speak here, it's almost year 2026. So therefore, it's almost 26 years that I have been in the field of Lean Six Sigma. And I have to say that there have been many paths that have then developed in certain organizations where they say, oh, let's do now this method, or let's now try something else. But somehow we always come back again to the things that work. And the things that I have seen in these 26 years that always works is the Lean Six Sigma methodology. It always depends, of course, how strong are we going to be using the lean part, which is integrated into the Six Sigma methodology and the way how we do projects in Six Sigma. And also depends how strong are we then inclined towards the area of Six Sigma. So many times, if you're going to start with this methodology or with this mindset in the organization, one of the things that we will notice is that we cannot usually go into Six Sigma that deeply, into the way how projects are done, because the maturity degree of what we're doing is not yet at a level where you could do Six Sigma projects, where you would have so much data, that you would have information from the customers. And that's why we usually need to start with the basics, and the basics is more in direction of lean. And once you have incorporated lean and have done a couple of projects with lean, then little by little, while we are increasing the maturity degree of our processes, we can then start going into Six Sigma projects. What is really cool about Six Sigma is that we have that nice framework, the framework of what type of tools are being used within what type of phases in a project. But it's not all about the tools, it's not all about the way how we do a project. It's all about the mindset and the strategy that we have behind the reason why we do Lean Six Sigma. It's also the construct of having different certification levels, from yellow belt. We even, some companies have white belt, yeah, and then we have yellow belt. We also have the blue belt, which is sometimes seen for management training and certification in some companies. But the blue belt is not so known in the literature of Lean Six Sigma, but in the practice, I have seen that in a couple of companies who have integrated the blue belt certification, which targets executives and management. So therefore, the green belt, yellow belt, black belt, and so forth, those are usually quite standard in the market. And then you have, as I mentioned just now, that a couple of companies are also using the blue belt, which is something that is very good for the overall construct because then you are covering all the layers of the organization. And many times it was observed that why do we have some middle management that are left out from the Six Sigma certification packages? Why are some of the executives not involved and so forth? So that is just to give you now just an overall construct on what is the benefit of Lean Six Sigma in the organization, of starting first with Lean and then moving over to Six Sigma. Of course, there are certain times where you know that these areas can definitely jump straight into Six Sigma because you have so much data available. You have possibilities of doing root cause analysis through all of that information and data that is available to us. We can look into historical data. Then, hey, that's great. Let's do a Six Sigma project. But in most cases, if you're starting off, then you will not have that much data availability. And therefore, we can be more pragmatic and then dive first into lean methods and then into Six Sigma. So, what is now above all of that Lean Six Sigma methodology is the continuous improvement mindset. In Japanese, there is a word called Kaizen, and that's the key for this episode. I'm going to speak to you about Kaizen. This word is a Japanese word, is comprising of two areas. The area of Kai, which means change. It could also mean revise and to correct. And the word Zen, which means good, could also mean better or beneficial. So if you put the two words together, then it's change for the better, or change to the good, or change to something beneficial, and to correct something to make it better. So in summary, it is the word continuous improvement because we are continuously wanting to improve the way how we do our business. That means when we have the Kaizen mindset, the continuous improvement mindset, we are making improvement every single day. We're not waiting till we do a project until we can come up with solutions for a specific problem that we have, but we are just daily observing where can we make improvements where needed, and it's going to bring always a better working environment for our business. And now there's another thing that is known as Kaizen workshops. So the Kaizen workshops is more to compress all of the ideas and all of the solutions that we would like to generate from the employees and to have that in a very short amount of time so that we can dedicate 2, 3, 4, 5 days together with subject matter experts, and we will create a workshop that will generate lots of ideas, that's going to generate also the root causes to specific issues that we have in the team or in the process. And then we will have a lot of solutions that we could either implement right away, or we will have a lot of solutions that we could add on to our action plan. So, this is just to give you now the construct of Kaizen workshop and also where it belongs in the whole Six Sigma and continuous improvement world. So, therefore, there are different layers. The first layer is the continuous improvement layer, which is also known in Japanese Kaizen. Then, from the continuous improvement, you have a lot of different branches. You could go into Six Sigma, you could go into Lean, or you could mold them together and they just call it Lean Six Sigma. And then you have also the branch of 5S. And then you also have many different iterations of how you can do projects within the organization that's going to increase the way you do continuous improvement. You also have the activity boards that could be used either physically or digitally. So, therefore, there's so many different aspects that you can integrate into the continuous improvement mindset. But now, if you want to focus specifically on Kaizen workshops, then one of the things you should do as a manager is to observe what is the areas that we would like to now do a deep dive and to further improve. It could be either in one area or it could be in various areas within the organization if it's linked to each other. That means if it's an end to end process, then we know that this end to end process will be now observed in and worked on in a Kaizen workshop with participants coming from each of those areas. So that is very, very good to see that different areas will be speaking with different areas that maybe they were not speaking with each other before. And it's going to create a better understanding of the process and what is expected from each area. If you're doing a Kaizen workshop that is only within your team and your department, you could send an email, for example, to your employees asking who would like to participate in a Kaizen workshop. These workshops could last somewhere between 2 days up to 5 days. Of course, depending on the scope you have, how many topics you would like to optimize, we will define how many days will be dedicated for this Kaizen workshop. Most times I've seen the 5 day is very beneficial because we can dive even deeper into many topics. We can generate many ideas with the subject matter experts. And that's why the most common version that I have seen is somewhere between 3 and 5 days, where 5 days is the one that is mostly picked. Normally, we would choose about one third of our team to participate in these Kaizen workshops, and we would then ask our employees who would like to take part of this Kaizen workshop and provide ideas for the future change of the processes in our department. And then, depending of those who have raised their hand and those who are willing to take part of the Kaizen workshop, we will do the kickoff and start the Kaizen workshops. The main point of this episode here today is to say what are the 7 main benefits of Kaizen workshops. So, the first one is Kaizen is still in today because it delivers fast and tangible results. It provides rapid ideas and improvements in a few days. You do not have to wait months or years until a certain number of ideas come into play. You could already compress that and put it into those 3 to 5 days of workshop and generate a large amount of ideas that can be then followed up as a deep dive to see what are the root causes and how can we find the right solutions to each of these ideas that we have for improvements in our team. The really important thing here is that the ideas come from the process experts, from the subject matter experts, and not from consultants or from management. So, one of the things that makes it really easy for you as a manager is that you do not have to think about, wow, I need to come up with all of these great ideas on how to improve the processes in my team and to tell my employees what is it that they need to do. This is now the other way around. We are giving the empowerment as management to the subject matter experts and telling them, look, you are the ones working on this process every single day. You are the experts. So, what ideas do you have? What do you think are the things that we could optimize so that the outputs of that process become better and that you become more satisfied with your process? And that is the real benefit from a Kaizen workshop, that we are giving the empowerment to the subject matter experts. The often result of the Kaizen workshops is that we have a very high return on investment. Sometimes we think it's really a lot of time for one third of our team to take part of a Kaizen workshop for those number of days, but in reality, it's going to bring so many benefits that you are definitely going to see that the return on investment is much higher than what we initially expected. We have also the so called impact metrics where we can see how many topics will have a high impact and with a low effort. And you will realize that there are many things that will fall under that category. Within that category are going to be also a lot of quick wins. The nice thing about quick wins is that you'll be able to generate a visible, measurable result within a very short time. It also addresses the root causes instead of just firefighting. Another thing is that we will learn in this Kaizen workshop that you do not have to find solutions that are directly linked to the problem, because then you would usually come up with the wrong type of solution. And this example I have given before in my workshops as well as in other episodes for employees, that if you, for example, have a headache and you would want to fix that problem by taking a painkiller, you are not really fixing the problem because you're not finding solutions that are linked to the root cause. Once you know the root cause, that the headache comes from perhaps dehydration, or it comes from lack of movement, or it comes from too much stress, or, then you can find other types of solutions. For example, if it comes from dehydration, then the solution is, how do I standardize a way that I will drink sufficient fluids throughout the day? If the root cause is I do not have enough movement and it's causing me to have headache, then how do I implement that I am going to do sufficient movement throughout the day or throughout the week? So that means that those solutions are going to be much different than if I just link my solution to the problem. So let's link solutions to root causes and not to problems. And that's one of the things that our employees will learn how to do when they are attending a Kaizen workshop. Point number two is that it builds a culture of continuous improvement. It's a mindset. It encourages employees to think critically and suggest new ideas. So employees are not going to have the culture of just doing their task over and over again every single day and doing all of the corrections and doing non-value added steps and just waiting till the manager comes and tells them what to do. This is going to definitely be a shift of the mindset to say, dear employees, you are the ones now in charge of optimizing your daily work, and you will now obtain some tools and techniques on how to further improve the things that you do every single day. It develops a proactive rather than a reactive culture. It reinforces lean thinking and operational excellence. And this is the type of culture that we want to have in our company. We do not want to have a company where people think that we just come here to work. We want a company where we know that the culture is going to be set up in a way that people feel that they are responsible for the quality of work that they're doing, that each one of them is the one who can define the future quality of these processes, that they are the ones who come here to think, not just to work. They come here to think and to further improve the way we do business. Point number three is that it strengthens team engagement and retention. So, therefore, employees feel that they are heard, they feel valued when included in problem solving techniques. So, now that they feel that they are empowered to take part of these workshops, that they are actually having a platform where they can give their ideas and they can start improving things in work, that is very motivational and it can really keep people working longer in those areas, and it will increase their happiness level, their satisfaction level. It increases morale, reduces burnout, and also builds more trust in the team. Another good point under the strengthening of team engagement and retention is that it contributes directly to the positive workplace culture, because people know now that if I'm going to have the mindset of continuous improvement and I'm going to take part of these Kaizen workshops, that I am the one responsible to have an impact of change, that I'm the one responsible for the quality of that process. The quality of that process will define how happy we are as employees working on that process and how happy is the customer receiving the output from that process. So it really has that win win scenario. Point number four, this is all about how to break down on silos. As you know, many times we see people working in their department and have no idea what's happening at the beginning of the end to end process. They have no idea what's happening at the end. They maybe just see their own piece of the process, but they do not see the beginning or the end. Maybe that process is the beginning, so they never see what happens afterwards. Or maybe you are at the end of the process chain and you do have no idea what's happening before. So, therefore, once you have that understanding of what's happening before and the middle and at the end of this end to end process, you have a better possibility to improve that end to end process, especially if you have a lot of sections, meaning you have a lot of areas that are being handed over to another area, these so-called handoffs. These handoffs, when you're handing off from team A to team B, then team B has another handoff to team C. Then every time there's a handoff, there's a higher possibility of improving some standards so that things can be done better between each of those handoffs, because there's a specific service level agreement that should be created between each of these handoffs. And then we can further improve the process for everybody. We can balance the process in a way that the end to end is going to have a better flow and a better outcome for our customers, but also for the employees working in this process. So, by breaking the silos, you will have cross functional teams solve problems together. You will also see that it improves communication and internal collaboration between the different teams, and it creates a shared ownership of outcomes. So now they're all working together as a team. We're all rowing the boat the same direction, and we're all having the same tact and the same efforts that we're doing together as a team. And we're not just seeing it as an isolated bubble that I am sitting in and I have no clue what is happening before or after the process that I'm working on. Point number five is all about scalable and sustainable results. which means that we create standards and routines that stabilize processes. It provides a repeatable model that can be applied across departments. This is something that is so beautiful because it's all about best practice. It's all about how do we leverage these type of initiatives. If we have done a Kaizen workshop somewhere and it had a very good outcome, how can we replicate that result for other teams? So now that the other teams will have that curiosity and will see what has been done in your team, and they will see what type of feedback and results came out of that Kaizen workshop. So it's going to really increase that motivation in order to try out new things in the organization. And you will be the one who is going to start that curiosity for the others. And the others will then start also trying out continuous improvement and Kaizen workshops and will see what benefits it will bring for them and their teams. Then we got point number six, which is all about improving your KPIs across the company. So once you have that end to end perspective of the process, you know also what is the outcome of that process, and you can start creating KPIs. I personally like to use the so called fact model. The fact model starts with the letter F, which stands for fulfillment. So we can say, what is the fulfillment of this end to end process? Can we manage all the volumes that are coming in? Or is there something that is left behind and that we did not work on? Then we have the A, which stands for accuracy. That means that whatever we fulfilled, whatever we worked on, what is the accuracy of that work that we have done? What is the correctness of that work? What was the outcome for the customer when they could see was it done correctly or was it not done correctly? So that is all about the KPI on accuracy. Then we have the C, which stands for cycle time. So not only did we fulfill the task and we worked on it, not only that we did the accuracy, that we did it right, but did we do it within the expected time frame? And here again, it's very important to know from voice of the customer what is the expected time frame that we should deliver this outcome. It could be also voice of the business, it could be internally, or it could be externally for the customer, depending on where you are in the organization, who is your customer. And then you will know we are going to check if we are delivering the work within the expected time frame, yes or no. And that could be another KPI. Then the final KPI here is the letter T in our fact model, which stands for treatment. What is the treatment and the overall customer journey with this process? So, how's the treatment not only for the customer themselves, but what is the treatment within the team when we are working on this process? Is there a lot of ping pong going on of emails? Is there a lot of interactions going on where people are annoyed, where they are complaining that the other person did not do the work properly, and then now you have to do the rework? It's so painful because you did that work already three times in order to get it right. All of these things is the treatment. How is the treatment for you as an employee working on this process? Also for you as a manager, if you say, well, how's the treatment within my employees? How are they treating each other with specific processes? And also, what is the treatment for the person receiving the outcome of that process? For example, the customer who is now calling your team to find out something or is calling for information, and how professional was the interaction with your team? How well did the customer feel during that interaction? Were they professional? Were they friendly? How's the whole overall treatment and the feeling about it? You can get that information and that data through surveys. And that means that you will have to collect information from your customer to know how well do you perceive the treatment from the team. And that fact model with these four KPIs, it will define what is quality, the level of quality, because we should have a KPI for each of our key processes. We should have a list of all the key outcomes that your team is delivering. Then for each of those key processes that you have, you will say, what is the fulfillment rate and get it measured? What is the accuracy rate? What is the number of times that I get it within the right time? And how is the feedback from the treatment internally as well as externally? Once I have those KPIs, I will have a very good overview of what is there to improve in our Kaizen workshops. And we will then also be able to identify these fact model KPIs and indicators within our Kaizen workshops as well. So that's another thing that it makes a very exciting thing to do Kaizen workshops in the company. We come now to point number 7, which is about managers benefit directly. So this is all about you, dear managers. You as a manager will see that it reduces firefighting and daily chaos in teams. You will see that it frees up management time. So, in this case, you will have more time to do even more valuable tasks while your team is then involved in improving things. They will be doing specific process improvements by themselves. They will be coming up with ideas. They will be presenting you the ideas so that you can validate on them, and it will be a way of stabilizing and optimizing the processes day by day. And it helps you to develop future leaders through participation and delegation. So that means you can see who is the person in your team who's coming up with the best ideas, who has the best presentation skills when presenting these ideas, who came up with the best way on how to implement all of these ideas into the process. So you will be able to observe who could be the leader of tomorrow within your team, and to further support these people who are making a change for the organization and giving a good impact. So, with this, I hope it was a good summary in this 7 steps why Kaizen workshops are still today running so powerfully. I got to say, now it's year 2025 as I'm recording this episode. And I think this is the year where I've done the most Kaizen workshops in my career, because it is really coming back very strong again, where a lot of companies are realizing that this is an absolute great method in order to get all of the good ideas from our subject matter experts, allow this platform to be available to our employees so that they can contribute to the change, and they could feel that there will be also less resistance to change because they are the ones coming up with the ideas. They are the ones who are going to suggest all of the improvements that they would like to see in the process. And then it's your job, dear manager, to make sure that you will either validate or not validate certain ideas that came up and support them in that journey. So, you as a manager will not only support them in validating these ideas, but you will also support them in implementing these ideas. One of the things that we also noticed in Kaizen workshops is that you cannot always implement all the things within a short time span. Sometimes you will have a nice long list of action points. And what is super important is that this list of action points do not get lost. It does not land in somebody's drawer. This list should be further tackled. And this tackling of those points that are on this action plan list are the ones that we need to integrate into our continuous improvement culture in our organization. And with that, I hope you have now learned a little bit more about Kaizen workshops, and all the benefits it could bring for you and your team and to the culture of the organization. Take care and see you next time in the next episode.